Greetings and salutations. Today we will be covering the gruesome murder of Abby Choi. It would seem we live in a world where money and fame can offer immunity from almost everything. However, there is one thing that not even wealth and notoriety can help you escape: murder. That is why today we will be taking a closer look to the shocking and gruesome murder of the Chinese socialite and model Abby Choi, who according to officials had her limbs cut off and separated, where her legs were found having been butchered separately from her head and arms. Reports would go on to be updated, noting that they had found her ribs and her severed head inside a soup pot within a rural district of Hong Kong. According to news reports, Choi first debuted as an influencer before subsequently expanding her career into mainstream media. She was known as a fashion icon who could mix and match pieces in ways that made her a trendsetter, and it must be noted that she had more than 100,000 followers on Instagram. She had also been noted to have on multiple occasions attended Paris Fashion Week, along with having been featured in several magazines, from Elle, Harper's Bazaar, to even Vogue. Less than 2 weeks before her death, Choi was even featured on the cover of a fashion and luxury lifestyle magazine, L'Officiel Monaco. The police's prime suspects in the gruesome killing were her ex-husband's family, and supposedly it had been because of a financial dispute having occurred between the two groups. Superintendent Alan Chung would go on to state, "We believe the victim and her ex-husband's family may have had financial disputes involving huge sums." It was noted that a dissatisfied party made it known that on the 24th of February 2023, just 3 days after her disappearance, responding officers had found her body or parts of it within a refrigerator, and it was reported that the refrigerator was in Tai Po Village House within Hong Kong. Reportedly, some of her body parts were hidden within the refrigerator, and some of them had even been cooked. At this point, the police would go on to change the classification of the case from a missing persons case to that of murder. It must be noted that Choi was reported missing after failing to pick up her daughter from school, which she normally would have done by entering the car driven by her driver, who was also her ex-brother-in-law. Items which were noted to be connected with the case were a meat slicer, along with an electric saw, and it is believed that both items were used to dismember her body. In some ways, this crime seems to be reminiscent of both the Inoshikara Park dismemberment incident and the icebox murders, both in how shocking they are and how gruesome. Now, to understand a bit about the case, it is important to look into the background of the victim. Our victim, Abby Choi, was the eldest of 3 daughters, and as the eldest, she grew up at the focal point of a rather wealthy family, thanks to the fact that the family itself had operated a construction business and had been blessed with particular connections to other businesses throughout the entirety of China. Choi's net worth would eventually balloon past more than 100 million Hong Kong dollars, which is more than 12,700,000 US dollars. Choi had also been heavily involved in philanthropy, having gone so far as to co-found a charitable organization which dedicated its time and resources to help stray animals. After the murder of Choi became public knowledge, the police were quick to move in and arrest 3 suspects on February 25th, 2023. One of them was Choi's former brother-in-law, Anthony Kwang Kong Kit, who was her personal driver, while the other 2 suspects were his parents, along with later also bringing in Alex Kwang, Choi's ex-husband, who was arrested while trying to escape at the pier in Sung Chung, located on Lansu Island. The South China Morning Post would go on to report that Alex had with him 500,000 Hong Kong dollars, which are approximately 63,704 United States dollars, along with multiple luxury watches, which amounted to a small fortune. It is known that Choi married Alex Kwang when she was 18 and bore him 2 children within the short 3-year time span of their marriage, which would end in a divorce. However, Choi would go on to remarry, and her significant other was named Chris Tam, whose father was the founder of a restaurant, Tamiya Yon Mixian. She would go on to sire 2 children with him, and it must be noted that despite the divorce with her former husband along with his family, after an intensive manhunt by police, along with a reward amounting to approximately 2 million Hong Kong dollars, which is an estimated 254,798 United States dollars, Alex Kwang would later become the fourth individual to be officially arrested, after unsuccessfully attempting to escape Hong Kong via boat. As it stands, allegations are that the death of Choi was planned out by her former father-in-law, Kwong Gao, who had previously been a cop, and who coincidentally had allegations of having violated someone. The motive as it stands is believed to be a disagreement pertaining to a large sum of money, along with arguments over a luxury apartment which is believed to have been bought by Choi, but whose ownership was under the name of her former father-in-law. The luxury apartment is located in Kandori Hill in Kowloon Tang, one of Hong Kong's most prestigious and affluent neighborhoods. This is where some of the richest and most wealthy people in the entirety of Hong Kong reside. However, this would not be the crime scene. By February 26, 2023, the police had found Choi's severed head along with her butchered ribs inside a pot of cooked soup. It must be noted that there was little to no information pointing towards any of her body being consumed. However, if you dismember someone, it is not a stretch to believe that at some time, somebody that mentally unstable would devour parts of the body. At this time, police would go on to arrest yet another individual, causing the number of suspects to grow to a sum total of 5 individuals who are believed to be connected in the killing in some way or another. This individual would be 47-year-old mistress of Kwong Gao, and it is believed that she aided Alex Kwong as he attempted to escape Hong Kong. It is unfortunate that as of yet, the police have not found all of the woman's remains, and the search for the body parts continues. And the search is specifically for, but not limited to, the torso itself, the hands, along with a minutia of other parts. More than 100 officers have been mobilized in a mass search in an attempt to locate the rest of the corpse. The latest area the police have focused on is the Northeast New Territories landfill in To Kwu Ling. Particularly, they believe that at least the torso would be in this area. They are also currently questioning local residents in order to gather more evidence needed to prosecute the case further. DNA testing has indeed proved that the remains that were cooked definitely belonged to Choi. On February 27th, 2023, the police would go on to fully charge Alex Kwong with murder, along with his brother and father being hit with the same charges, while the matriarch of the family was only charged with preventing the course of justice. All 4 suspects have been officially charged in court, and all 4 of them would be denied any form of bail. Their cases have been adjourned for the 8th of May, 2023. The father's mistress was also charged with abetting a murder suspect. However, she was released on bail. Later information would come out that Alex Kwong was a suspect behind 7 alleged cases of theft long before Choi was killed on March 2nd, 2023. A 6th suspect, 41-year-old Lam Chung, was arrested on suspicion of aiding and abetting Kwong in his attempted escape from Hong Kong by boat, and it is noted that he was paid a sum of 300,000 Hong Kong dollars, which is equivalent to $38,242 US dollars. And Lam was an employee of a yacht rental company, and he would go on to be charged on March 6th. Much like the previous perpetrator, he was granted bail. There is also a 7th suspect who was named Irene Huan Hua Yin, a 29-year-old Hong Kong resident and friend of Alex Kwong. She was arrested in Shenzhen, China on March 7th for abetting Kwong in his attempted escape from Hong Kong. She was handed over to the Hong Kong authorities shortly thereafter. Huan was charged on March 8th and was later granted a bail of 50,000 Hong Kong dollars or 6,370 US dollars. However, it must be noted that she, along with a previous individual, were given a travel ban to prevent them from leaving Hong Kong proper. According to the current laws of Hong Kong, murder would carry a mandatory minimum sentence of life in prison. It must be noted that this is a change from the mandatory minimum being the death penalty. However, the death penalty was abolished in Hong Kong in 1993, leaving the sole legal punishment for murder in Hong Kong to be a sentence of life behind bars. As the case has proceeded, Choi's mother has filed an injunction in court in order to forbade the Kwongs from selling any property linked to her daughter's murder, and to seek a legal declaration that her daughter was the beneficiary owner of the apartment. The list of those arrested goes as follows: Kwong Gao, 65-year-old, and child's former father-in-law. He is at the center of the case and one of the primary antagonists in the dispute over the 75 million Hong Kong dollar flat in the exclusive Kadoorie Hill neighborhood. This flat would cost about $9.3 million USD. It must be noted that while the dispute was going on, the flat itself was under his name. This retiree has been charged with murder and is currently remanded in custody. The second individual in this case is Alex Kwong Kong Chi, Chow's former husband. The model's ex-husband was officially charged with murder. Kwong is currently jobless, has been remanded to police custody. The third individual in the case is Anthony Kwong Kong Kit. The 31-year-old was Chow's former brother-in-law. He was also Chow's chauffeur and has been charged with murder. It also appears that she went missing while he drove her. The fourth individual who was charged was Jenny Lee Sui Hung, a 63-year-old and Chow's former mother-in-law. She has been charged specifically with preventing the course of justice and is currently remanded in custody. She was accused of having destroyed evidence. The next individual involved in this case is a 47-year-old woman named Nung, and she was arrested for aiding and abetting a murder suspect. Nung is so far the only suspect who has not been charged proper in the case. She worked as a masseur and is claimed to be Gong Guo's alleged lover. As information goes, she had been in a relationship with the 65-year-old for the past 6 months. She was accused of helping him rent a ground floor flat, specifically the ground floor flat where the murder occurred, or at least the dismemberment, and she is suspected of having aided Kwong in evading the police. She was released on bail pending further investigation. The next individual was Lam Sheng. The 41-year-old yacht rental assistant has been charged with assisting an offender with the intent to impede his apprehension or prosecution. He supposedly was organizing the attempted escape of Chow's ex-husband, and through him we know the destination that Alex intended to head to, Macau. He was released on bail, but he was barred from leaving the city, and he was ordered to surrender his travel documents. He must also report to the police twice a week and tell officers of any change in address. The seventh individual involved in the crime, as far as we know, is Irene Huan Hye Yun, a 29-year-old, and she has been charged with assisting an offender with the intent to impede apprehension or prosecution. Irene, who claimed to be jobless, had allegedly arranged the yacht to help Alex flee to Macau, knowing or believing him to be guilty of being the murderer or involved in the murder directly. She was arrested by mainland Chinese authorities and handed over to the police the same day. One had secured bail. However, she was told that she had to observe a travel ban and surrender all relevant documents. Also, she had to report to the police twice a week and notify them of any changes in address. Fortunately for all those involved, it seems that the case may be solved with the upcoming trial. If you remained with me until the end, I thank you, and I do hope you stay tuned and subscribe for more content.